Hello, good evening everybody. I welcome all of you to this special section of a package for our youths and for the general public on a very important discussion termed rape and the youths, prevention and solution. Please join me for the next few minutes as we consider this very crucial topic on youths and the rape. Everywhere today, if you listen to the dailies, national dailies, and go through the media, the issue about rape have been on and on. Everybody is emphasizing on it. What is going on is seeming as if the society is getting off point. What is rape? That is what I will be looking at. And what are the prevention mechanisms we can employ? And then the solutions we can get for the entire society. Please join me very well as we share together. The act of rape is regularly and recently occurring, generally as we look at our media and the national dailies in our time. It is not as if rape is a new thing. It did not start today. It has been as old as the days of the Bible. Rape is dangerous. Rape is bad. Rape is evil. And rape comes from the violation of the rule of sex. God is the creator of sex, and He designed sex to be enjoyed within the confine of marriage. The young people that are growing today, we are seeing them growing from their childhood into the adolescent ages. And from adolescent ages, they move into adulthood. And that is exactly from the adulthood, they will start experiencing some of the things that are made for the adult. Sex is created by God, made only for marriage people alone. However, the way biology has designed it, or their biological body system has built it, is when a youth, a young man or a young girl is growing up, there are usually passions, that continue to grow. The desire for sex keep coming up. So when we are talking about rape, we are talking about forcing someone to do what he or she is not supposed to do. Ideally, a young man, a young girl is not supposed to engage in sex. But when it is done in a way to force the person against his or her wish, it is called rape. Rape is bad before man. Rape is bad before God. Rape is an offense. So we'll look at what rape is and then compare it with what sexual assault is. We'll look at 7 types of rape we can get in our time. And then finally, we'll look at 8 ways of preventing rape as a solution. Now let's take very clear definitions about rape. Rape is the crime of forcefully engaging in sexual intercourse with a person who has not consented. You want to have sex with somebody who has not consented. That is rape. Any penetration of the female sex organ by a finger, by the male sex organ, or by any object without consent constitutes rape. Of course, there are legal terms that are used to explain what rape is and what rape is not. In case of the males, you may find any form of penetration of the male orifice. If we are talking about orifice here, we are talking about any opening into a body cavity of a young man, maybe through the mouth or through the anus. This can be said to be rape. When rape occurs, some people, most of the times, push towards remaining silent, or they close themselves. they cover themselves up from, saying this, because it's usually painful to the people that is affecting. In the Federal Republic of Nigerian Constitution, it's a crime that is punishable by law. In Nigeria, the age of consent for sex is 18 years. 18 years is seen, if someone is 18 years, he's taken as an adult. So any sexual relationship that comes before 18 years is always interpreted to be without consent. There are non-domestic rapes that are, committed by someone who knows the victim. Most of the times by research, it is discovered that most of the rapes are done by people who know the person. Sometimes, in rare cases, it's usually through strangers. There are rapes of co-workers. We hear rapes of people who are working in the same office, friends from the same office raping one another, schoolmates. These days we hear children getting raped in school. We see friends, who go out and then they are raped. You talk about acquaintances. Acquaintances are simply people who are very close to you, including date rapes. A girl moves out with a friend, somebody invited him or her out, and then rape occurs. The vast majority of rapes are committed by people who know the victim. Most researchers can prove this. There is what you call child or children or young people rape. It's a form of sexual abuse, and that is actually what we want to look at in details. When, a parent commits rape, someone will say, is it possible? We have been hearing stories of parents sleeping with their own daughters, or even, men sleeping with their own daughters and women sleeping with their own sons. Now, can it happen? Yes. When it happens among parents, sometimes it happens among close relatives, brothers and sisters from the same blood. It can even take place among grandparents, a grandpa sleeping with a grandson or a granddaughter. It can happen among aunts, uncles. It is a form of incest. All these are incestuous, characters. What do they portray? It simply means that there are things that are going on within blood relations that are not supposed to go on. These are all forms of sexual abuse. Usually it takes place between someone who is stronger and someone who is weaker. The older one may be stronger, while the victim may be the weaker one. It is a form of child-on-child sexual abuse. When a child is raped by a family member, especially by his parents, it can result into very serious and long-term psychological trauma. You can imagine what it looks like sleeping with your father or mother. After 10 years or 20 years, you still remember the story. It is very, very traumatic. When a child is raped by an adult who is not a family member, but is a caregiver or someone in a position of authority over the child, someone that is given to you to take care of, and you sleep with the person. Such cases we find in schools. A teacher may be handed over a student, and the teacher takes, that opportunity to sleep with the student. Religious leaders, we hear news of pastors, imams, sleeping with their members or sleeping with the young ones. We also hear about therapists, maybe in the medical field, doctors or health caregivers who are supposed to take care of these victims. They sleep with them, to name just but a few. And then there are also people who are dependent, on you. Someone who cannot fare for himself or herself, and you are the one taking care of the person. In houses, you see housemates, who are employed to work in houses, and those who employ them take, advantage of them. These are all aspects of incestuous rape. When individuals hear of rape or an assault, or when we talk about it, someone will just think it is something like, an evil man or a very evil perpetrator will just jump out from the bush, and just attack an unsuspecting person. Rarely it happens like that. Rape, how does it happen? Let me make few explanations. Peradventure, it will benefit you as you are listening from wherever you are. Sexual assault is a word that looks very similar to rape. Sexual assault is any unwanted sexual contact or attention that is met through force, threats, or bribes, manipulation, pressure, tricks or violence. When you use any of this to have your way to somebody, that's a form of sexual assault. It may be physical or non-physical, or it may even include rape and attempted rape. You may not have succeeded, but you tried to do that. Child molestation and incest, and even sexual harassment. All these things are aspects of what you call sexual assault. It's an abuse or an activity that you do not agree with. Naturally, the person who gets involved in a sex as a victim does not succumb to that. He's not interested. She's not interested, but she's coerced into it. How does this occur? It may be inappropriate touching. When you touch somebody in areas he is not interested. It may be vaginal, anal, or even oral penetration. Sexual intercourse that you say no to. It may be in form of rape or even attempted rape or child molestation. All these things are sexual assault. Let me make an explanation. Sexual assault can also be verbal. You can use words and speak to someone something that will, ruin the person's heart. It can be visual. You can be showing somebody a film or a video that is pornographic in nature. It can also be anything that forces any person to join any unwanted sexual contact or to get an attention. Examples of this is voyeurism. Voyeurism is when someone, watches private sexual acts. Pornography is something that is everywhere. People are watching, or you are sharing such materials with somebody. Your aim of doing that is to get that person's attention to join you in sex. That is voyeurism. You have exhibitionalism. That is when someone exposes himself or herself in public. Of course, today nakedness is no more an issue. You just see people nakeding themselves. They don't care. People even share nude pictures. They can send it through Facebook, send it through WhatsApp. That is exactly what is going on. Or in some instances, like I said before, sexual contact between family members who are linked by blood. All these things are what you call sexual harassment. It can happen under different situations. A stranger can do that in the house. It can happen along the road. It can happen in the classroom. It can happen in the church. It can happen in the mosque. It can happen on a date or anywhere, wherever these things can happen. Rape, as we are discussing, is one form of sexual assault. It is committed in many situations, especially when people create such an opportunity. May I quickly look at types of rape that we see in our society today? Number one, we talk about date rape. What is date rape? D-A-T-E. When somebody goes on date, you see among the adolescents today, I want to go on date. I want to, so person is dating me. I want to go out with him or her. He has invited me to, to eat and to drink and to chat. It is called acquaintance rape. This type of rape occurs between two people who know one another. They know themselves very well, and usually happens mostly in social situations. It can happen between people who are dating as a couple. Two of you have agreed to marry, or two of you, but yet you have not agreed to enter into sex, but one person is trying to force you into such. It can happen between two people who are just starting or resuming a relationship. Another type that is very similar to that, just in that line, is what we call friends rape. This one happens between people who are just friends. Maybe in the secondary school, maybe in the youth, in the yard, maybe in the environment where you stay. And although this type of rape, you can say that it occurs mostly by individuals who may have a little knowledge about their victims. Most rapes we hear today are happening in yards. Our neighbor, my neighbor. We live in the same neighborhood. The person knows you as a neighbor, but he may not know you so much as a friend. Now, this type of victims, they are actually, seen as rape, victims of acquaintance rape. When you force someone into an unwanted sexual intercourse with violent power tip on the part of the perpetrator and a violation of somebody's body and trust, somebody trusted you and you violated that trust, that is exactly what you call rape. It is wrong. It is illegal. The law of the land does not permit it. The Bible does not permit it. And the law of the land is against it. When you go too far, you still have a right. Everyone has a right to say no. Even when you want to force someone and he decides not to go ahead, such a person has his right not to go further. And even if you are partners and you decide to force the person against his or her wish, that can be rape. There's another type of rape that is called marital rape. Is it possible that rape can occur among couples who are married? The answer is yes. How? And how can it happen? This is a type of rape that happens between married people. It is also known as spouse marital rape, wife rape, husband rape, partner rape, or intimate partner sexual assault. Many researches that are done in the past reveal that there are so many victims of marital partner rape, and it creates a lot of trauma. A woman is not ready for sex. The husband forces himself on her out of her wish, not because she is willing. Or a man is not willing, and the wife forces his way through. That is a kind of rape. Sex should be, something that two persons should agree. When there is no agreement and force is introduced, that can be said to be rape. Another type of rape we notice in our society today is college campus rape. Do you hear what happens in our universities today? This occurs in higher institutions, either by friends, roommates, or even cultists. They say cultists are raging and they enter into rooms, they rape girls, they steal, they collect their things. Or you find roommates, sleeping, forcing other ones. You see, my classmate, I love this girl and I want to sleep, I want to have my way. It happens in campuses. Most of our daughters go to schools as virgins, but they come back as rape victims. Some studies indicate that this type of problem persists so much in the higher institution. There are so many reasons why it occurs. Another type of rape I want to share and talk very clearly is gang rape or mass rape. Which type of rape is this? This is the type of rape that occurs when a group of people participate in the rape of a single victim. When you find boys or girls gather themselves together to rape someone. Rape of this matter involves at least 2 or more perpetrators, which is widely reported in many parts of the world. Sometimes gang rapes involve more the influence of alcohol and drugs. Some people who may want to carry out such things may take drugs or may be influenced by alcohol, and they can get involved. Most of the times this thing happens in the night. That is what we call gang rape. 5 people sleeping with a girl, 5 boys, 10 boys, 7 boys, 3 boys having their way with a woman, or 3 women, 5 women raping a man. That is what you call gang rape. There is also another type of rape called prison rape. Prison rape. Do you know that in the prisons, rape still go on? Do you know that in prisons, people still commit rape? How? Many prison records some rape victims. Most cases, these are homosexual cases or lesbianism. These rapes are virtually, there. Some prisoners force each other in the cell to sleep with them. Sometimes you may even find out that the prison wardens or guards may also get involved with maybe female inmates. Some of these things abound if careful research is actually done. Let me also mention that there is war rape. What is war rape? Wherever there is violence and fighting, you find out that people are running, houses are burnt. You see people moving around, raping people, stealing, burning houses. During periods of war, rape do usually occur. It is often used sometimes as a means of a psychological warfare in order to humiliate the enemy and undermine their morale. Rape in war are often systematic and thorough. And sometimes you see military leaders may actually encourage their soldiers to rape their victims or even civilians. Likewise, systematic rapes are often employed as a form of ethnic cleansing, and sometimes it is used as a sexual relief for soldiers who may feel that they have been so long in the battlefield and they don't have their spouses around, so they may decide to rape some of the victims they come across. There are so many of these that are bound in our society. How can it be prevented? Are there ways out? Can rape be stopped? Yes, rape cannot be totally eradicated in the society, but it can be curtailed. It can be minimized. I wish to share some solution. I wish to share some tips that will help our young people prevent themselves, because rape is usually more noticed among the youths than among the adults. Let me share very few with you. Number one, every young person or adult should live his life for God and live in God. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. When a person lives a pure Christian life, he has a hope of running away from so many dangers, including rape. In other words, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach. My first solution and prevention of rape is that people should give their life to Jesus Christ and live for him. Number two, watch and be very careful with your dressing pattern. You see a lot of people saying the way she dresses may incur wrath of men on her. Maybe she's not dressing properly, or maybe he's not dressing properly. Mini skirts, people dress anyhow. People can even be naked and walk on the streets. Yes, it can cause someone who does not have such a desire to start nurturing such a plan. So one way of preventing rape is dress properly, especially the female folk. The males do dress roughly sometimes, but it's more with the female. Number three, report any likely move or approach that occurs to you. Rape occurs when the victims closes themselves from outsiders. Any perpetrator will first of all instill fear and tell you, don't tell anybody. If you tell anybody, I will kill you. If you tell anybody, you will die. And because of that alone, fear will come and that person will keep quiet. If you encounter such a thing, or you notice someone who is making a dangerous advances at you, please find a way to report such to your parents. If your parents are not the listening type, you can report to someone you trust, someone you know that cannot betray that trust. It can be your pastor. It can be men of God. It can be anyone you know you can trust. Not that any of these cannot be victims to, cannot be perpetrators, but someone you know you can trust that can help you. If you close your mouth in rape, you will only empower the perpetrator to do that same to others. But when you report such a person, it will help to stop it. Another solution I want to present Avoid going to people who are strange to you. Strangers, following people you do not know, going on blind dates. Somebody invites you and definitely you know very well that you don't know the person well. He tells you, come to the hotel, come and see me. Be very careful where you go to. Be very careful who you get involved with. It can save you from problems. Be careful with pornographic materials, related pornographic materials, either in books, audio, or visual. There is laptops everywhere. Handsets and phones are there everywhere. All our youths are carrying phones. Most of the times, they are feeding their hearts with pornographic materials. What do you expect? When they watch some of these things, they may want to practicalize it. One way of saving yourself from it is run away from rape. Just avoid it. If the heart is clean, it will be very difficult for things to infiltrate in it. If our youths and those who are concerned will avoid pornographic materials online, browsing, chatting, somebody will be sleeping in the night, you'll be chatting, and most of the chatting are sex chats. What do you expect? Someone will want to practice what he has been talking about. Proper sex education is another solution and a prevention method I want to bring up. Sex education is good. Sex education is not bad. Parents and guardians should sit down and teach their children the proper things. Knowledge is power. When a child is properly taught, that child has greater power to resist outsiders. If a child is properly taught and that child decides to do otherwise, then that can be in rare cases. Don't allow your children to get the wrong information from friends outside. They may end up having the wrong person or the wrong information. Teach your children the right thing. Churches should teach their members the right thing. Schools should teach their students the right thing. Moral should be taught. Because we do not do this again, people are left to themselves. So many children are not cared for. Nobody cares. Nobody talks to them. Nobody advises them. When we do this, we will reduce issues and cases of rape. The next point I will present as a solution and also as a prevention technique is know who you follow as a friend. There is an adage that says, show me your friend and I will tell you the type of person you are. If you follow friends who are sexually addictive, who are always interested in sexual matters, discuss sexual things, you will likely follow them. Birds of the same feather, they flock together. If your friends are righteous persons, it is very difficult for them to lead you insane. Who is your friend? If you have a friend that you talk more about lust, you will end up into sex or rape. If you have friends that fear God, they will help you to fear God more. Choose your friend wisely. Young people, choose the right friend. Do not choose the wrong friend. The next point I will say is, reject so many rape myths. There are a lot of sexual myths we find in our society. I want to share some of them with you. Some people will tell you, a man must have sex to prove his masculinity. In other words, for you to be a man, to show that you're a man, you must have sex. That's a lie. Having sex does not prove you're a man. Some boys are deceived into, having boyfriend or girlfriend simply because somebody tells you if you don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you have not matured. That's a lie. It's a sexual myth. Another one is, some people will tell you, when women say no to sex, they really mean yes. So men should ignore their women's refusal. So if a girl is saying no, that girl is indirectly saying yes. So the man feels, even if he's saying no, I must force her. After all, she will like it, she will enjoy it. That's a myth. That's not true. That's a wrong information. Another one is if a woman engages in kissing or petting, she is obligated to engage in sexual intercourse. Of course, someone may be carried away into kissing or into petting, and along the road realizes that, I'm not getting it right, I need to stop. And such a person may decide to stop. But if you said, no, once we kiss, we must end it up in sex, that's also a myth. What goes on between a husband and wife is none of your business. What I do with my wife doesn't concern you. What I do with my husband doesn't concern you. No, it's wrong. It concerns everyone. You should live a marriage in peace. If you are living in a yard and you are fighting and quarreling with your husband every day because of sexual relations, you'll be affecting your neighbors. It is also a myth. It's not the right thing. The man should be the head, the man is the head of the house. So the man must do whatever he wants. The man must not do everything he likes. The man should do what he knows is right to be done. These are some of the things. Now, in addition, brethren and our youths that are listening to me, I don't know where you are listening to, all my friends, and those of you who are listening from different parts of the world, I welcome you. Rape is dangerous. We should set it as friends so that we will environment. And the environment is not so clear. You are noticing, then save yourself. Stop stigmatizing those who are rape victims. If somebody is raped and he reports and people laugh at the person, you will only cause more problem for the person. If we do not stigmatize rape victims, they will be very free to come out. If I am stigmatized and I hide it, I will find it difficult to come out. And that will make the perpetrators to use that avenue to, do more. Let's report them where we can. Women should be valued like men, and men should be valued like women. Be very careful with what you eat and what you drink. Some people can be given drugs and put in drinks for them, and when they go to drink, they will sleep off and they will be raped. Be very careful with what you be careful with the gifts you receive from people. Some people may want to get you and use gifts to attract you. When they keep giving you, give you money, buy you this, buy you that, one day they will request you to pay back. It may be through rape. They may want to demand from you. Be very careful with what you receive from people. Seek help from security agents where necessary. Get to law enforcement agencies that can help. I believe if we do some of these things, God will help all of us. I don't know whether you are blessed. I don't know whether what we have said have made any sense. But I want to encourage you. Our youths, our society, we can overcome the issue of rape. We can reduce it. We can save our society. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord honor you. As you listen and apply some of this, may God deliver our society from the power of rape that is ravaging the society now. I wish you well. Please follow us subsequently in other versions that will be coming up. More series will be coming. We will announce it and we will tell you when it will come. Thank you very much. In case you have a question, in case you have a contribution, please, you can use the hashtag. You can please send your information through the WhatsApp number on this page. And I know I will respond to you and God will bless you. I am happy to see you listening. Thank you very much and may God bless you.